Which coaches overexceeded expectations in 2023? I'm not talking about Nick Saban or Jim Harbaugh, who were expected to be players for a shot at the national title. I'm talking about those who drastically saw what their preseason goals were and doubled down and probably did even better than we expected. Let's talk about it. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus anything going on with the transfer portal, early signing period, national championship news, and a bunch of other nonsense, make sure that you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me, who did you think overexceeded expectations in 2023? Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, the drunk dude passed out in a Waffle House parking lot, college football aficionados everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to 5,000, then 10,000, then 100,000, and ultimately we'll get to 1 million. And I think that we're going to get there. So jump on in while the water's fine. Give me a follow on social media. I call it Twitter. You can call it X. I don't really care what Elon calls it, at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, the conversation of college football never has to stop flowing. Early over expectations. That's the key element here that we need to talk about. Is not the teams that when you look on paper say they won 11-1, they won their conference, they did exactly what we expected, they deserve some credit. No, the reason why we're not going to put them on this list is because of we expected them to be teams that would be players for a shot of winning the national title. We expected 11-1 to be the bottom tier. We expected 10-2 at worst to be kind of the breaking point. And so Penn State doesn't fall in this category. Alabama, Texas, they don't fall in this category. And I could say underachieving teams like Clemson and Tennessee, they wouldn't fall in this category. I got a couple for you, so let's break it down. Number one, Kalen DeBoer at Washington. I don't know how many people besides yours truly was high on the Huskies going into 2023. And I don't understand why. You return two of your elite wide receivers and your number one option at quarterback, who was always going to be a favorite to win the Heisman. Lo and behold, he came in second place. And you had a defense that was at least somewhat showing signs of growth. Not to mention you were able to retain your offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb. But many people thought this would be a 9-3 team or a 10-2 at best. No one expected them to be players in Las Vegas going up against a USC or an Oregon or even a Utah for that instance. And lo and behold, they're going to the college football playoff. They had one of the best passing attacks in college football this year. Two receivers went for over 1,000 yards. And if Jalen McMillan was there, we might have seen Michael Penix Jr. shatter records in the world of college football. He was in phenomenal. The rushing attack found an identity at some point during the regular season. And at times, you watched every level of the playing field make an impact, whether that be an 11-0 shutout in the second half against Utah, or the rushing attack being potent as all hell against USC, headlined by Dylan Johnson, or the passing attack finding a way to win in frigid conditions in Corvallis against Oregon State. Kalen DeBoer won Coach of the Year for a reason. Nobody, besides yours truly, actually expected Washington to be a player. And ask anybody on YouTube, any major college football big head, talk about Washington. You notice the conversations always were featured on Oregon or USC and the troubles that were going on in Los Angeles or what's wrong with Kyle Whittingham's roster. Nobody brought up Washington. Yours truly did, and there was a reason behind it. I knew that they were going to be special. They drastically overexceeded everyone's expectations, and now they have a shot of winning a national title for the first time since the 1990s. Next up, let's talk about SMU. Hear that? Power 5 SMU. That team, the team that many people are still wondering, why were they not offered a spot in the Big 12? Well, they were waiting for bigger and grander things, and the ACC came calling, and now they're going to be a viable threat in year one underneath Rhett Lashley. Keep in mind that this was an SMU team that has always been kind of middle tier, but at one point they were the pipeline and powerhouse of college football. SMU this past year showed impeccable growth. Not only that, they had the number 6 scoring offense in the country. They have a quarterback headline, Preston Stone, who's going to be back next season. And they won their conference. They beat Tulane. Willie Fritz's Tulane. A Tulane team that last year went and played in the Cotton Bowl and beat USC. This was a team that fundamentally saw growth defensively. They improved when it came to the pass rush. They improved when it came to the secondary. Every area of the field, you look at the ponies, they ponied up and they doubled down and they said, hey, we know that we're about to be a Power 5 team. You want to see what we got in Big D? We'll show it to you. Don't look out, but TVMA, we're not going to get that involved. You got to realize that SMU drastically showed the world, yeah, they belong. And you can make the argument that they belong in the Fiesta Bowl over a team like Liberty because of their schedule was tougher. And they also found a way to hold their own against almost everybody. They went undefeated in conference play. Oh, and they did play extremely well against an Oklahoma team that went 10-2. So one of their losses came to a team that also got double-digit wins. I like the future of what you have down in Dallas. I like what you have with Rhett Lashlee leading the charge. Make no mistake, SMU drastically, I think, impressed. I think a lot of people are paying attention to what the Ponies will do next season as the newest members of a Power 5 conference. Next up, Arizona, Jedd Fisch. Anybody know what the preseason win total was for Arizona going into the year? I'll save you the trouble. It was 4.5 wins. Nobody believed that those in Tucson were going to be a viable threat. And there were times this year where you thought to yourself, this is where it comes crashing down. This is where Jedd Fisch realizes I still have a few more notches that I have to add in before I'm really good at what I do. Yeah, they got to 9-3. They had a top 20 offense in the country. They had a top 40 defense in the country. They drastically improved when it came to the run defense, and their pass secondary was second to none. They held their own, and they got 4 ranked wins on the season. Not to mention, they gave as many fits and troubles to USC, forcing that game into overtime, and Washington basically having to trust that running game late in the fourth quarter to pull away. This was a team that had a few flaws where if they just got one play to swing their way, momentum follows, and they probably have a shot at going to Las Vegas. They have a shot at playing in a New Year's Six Bowl. Instead, they're playing in the best non-New Year's Six Bowl game that I have ever seen in the world of college football. Them versus Oklahoma. You got your young quarterback of the future in Noah Fafita. You have a young emerging wide receiver. Not to mention, you are going to be a player when it comes to adding in more names via the portal. I'd watch that second wave, what Jedd Fisch is able to bring. Oh, and you also are joining a brand new conference. See you later, Pac-12. Welcome to the party, Big 12. I'm here to take over. You want to know what a program is built like? Go look at what we're doing down in Tucson. I promise you, there's second to none at our material. We have the backing, we have the culture, and we have the identity that nobody should want to play next season when we arrive and we touch down in Arlington and we start having conferences talking about what our end goals are. The end goal, college football playoff appearance, and definitely a shot of winning the Big 12. Next up, I want to talk about Florida State, plain and simple. Nah, not really. Let's just go through Florida State real fast. They did over-exceed expectations, in my opinion, of being a team that finally surpassed Clemson. But let's be real, they also were a team that many people expected them to be players in the college football playoffs. So I'll digress from that one. Ole Miss, there we go. That's one that we need to talk about. Lane Kiffin is a troublemaker. He beats to his own drum. He knows that he ruffles the feathers of everybody in the SEC, and he doesn't care. He doesn't. He does things his own way. He doesn't really mind what other people say from the outside world. And he also isn't afraid to swing big, whether that be adding in players via the portal, having them for 1 year, and then re-identifying what the flaws are going into next season. Many people thought 8-4 was probably the end goal for an Ole Miss team. You got games against Georgia, Alabama still on the schedule, Texas A&M should be more improved, and not to mention LSU is coming to the VOD. They won every game except for 2. They have a shot of winning their first 11-win season in program history. They once again riddled the transfer portal with proven commodities going into 2024. Oh, and they beat the Heisman Trophy winner in their own backyard. Lane Kiffin had a top 25 offense, an improving defense underneath new DC, Pete Golding. He's adding in the right pieces. This is a team that going into next year, you wonder, what is the end goal? Because if everyone's going to say, we'll make the college football playoff, I think everyone expects Ole Miss at this point with what they're returning offensively and what they've added in defensively and what they could add in defensively. Walter Nolan, still available, still looking at Oxford as his next home away from home. I think the end goal turns to winning college football playoff games, turning it into now we're going to be a viable threat alongside Alabama. Now we're going to be a threat alongside Georgia. And we know that with our culture and with our coach, we can do that. Sometimes the odd couples attract. Sometimes they end up actually coming out stronger on the other side. And we've heard for years on end, Lane Kiffin eventually will leave Oxford because of there's going to be grander things for him out there, better resources at other universities that are willing to put in the funds and back their money where their mouth is. You're starting to see that now with Ole Miss. Not only are they offering him a contract every single offseason, mainly because of the rules in the state of Mississippi, but you're also watching everything grow. Transfer portal, another top 5 class coming your way. Recruiting class, top 20 class this year. And eventually you're going to get into that top 15 range, maybe even top 12, top 10 range. And once you get that, look at lo and behold, What works is winning, and winning is the only culture that I look for when it comes to a program of trying to show success. One more for you, Missouri. The Tigers this past year, nobody expected this. Nobody. I don't even think Eli Drinkwitz, and he may tell you on a phone call while trying to wait for Connor Stallions to pick up that he believed in Columbia. This was a year where the Cotton Bowl was going to be a thing, where they beat up on Kansas State, where they'll find a way to get to double-digit wins. And I think he probably would have said, if we got to 8-4, that was at least signs of progress. Eli Drinkwitz made one of the smartest decisions of the entire offseason last year when he realized I have to give up something. I can either give up on recruiting, I can either give up on calling plays, or I can give up my entire job and be looking in the market for a new OC position come next season. Because 6-7 is never going to be viable. Finishing below 500 is never going to be an end goal in the SEC. So he goes out and he hires Kirby Moore, and Kirby Moore turns the offense into something incredible. They finish in the top 5 in almost every single SEC category. They have a breakout season from Cody Schrader. They have another phenomenal year from Luther Burden. Brady Cook looks to be the quarterback leading you into the future of the SEC with 16 teams. Oh, and you've also started winning extremely well via the transfer portal and on the recruiting trail. You're going to finish with a top 15 recruiting class. You're going to finish with a top 10 portal class. You have a plug-and-play left tackle waiting in Caden Green, a replacement for Cody Schrader and Marcus Carroll, not to mention with what you've already added in with young up-and-comers, plus another handful of superstars that could eventually find their way to Columbia. This is a team that kind of feels like, hey, have fun. This is graduate school. When you go to graduate school, your attention is supposed to be on classes. It's supposed to be bettering your craft, and that way you'd be able to make more money when you get out of college. When you go to undergrad, that's like going to Alabama. That's like going to Ohio State or Georgia or one of these other major programs where you sit the bench and you don't really do that much. But once you're finally ready to work and once you're ready to be a part of something promising, and we can trust that once you step foot on campus, not only are you the best player at your position, you're one of the best players on our team. Yeah, we're going to utilize you to your advantage. And now we're going to get to see results. That's what Missouri looks like at this point. They're a graduate program. They're a team that feels once the kids are done kind of having their fun, they want to get down to the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of all of college football. They get to that level, that's what you're looking for. I'm telling you, Missouri, Kentucky, Ole Miss, these are programs that you're going to start seeing on the come up, especially with NIL and the collective being bountiful, and also what you have in the transfer portal. These are teams to watch for, but Eli Drinkwitz in year 4, big time year, a year that he needed to win. He now has a shot at getting 11 victories in 2023. That is a huge turnaround from what we saw last year. You're not losing Kirby Moore. You're not losing Blake Baker. This is a team that I think that we have to monitor moving forward. Big time congrats in Columbia. Big time congrats for Eli Drinkwitz. But yeah, those are the teams I think vastly overexceed expectations this year. Washington with Kalen DeBoer is on the come up. Arizona with Jed Fish. They're not going away anytime soon. Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. You know what they got going on on the Grove. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri in Columbia. They're a team. Watch out for them. You don't want to play them in the month of December. That's for dang sure. And you definitely don't want to play them down the stretch. And SMU. Give SMU a shot, people. I'm telling you, they're better than expected, and they're going to be making noise starting in 2024 as the newest member and potentially only new member of the ACC. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.